just pick it up later, and she can watch it later.
No question. I'm good. I'm about to do it right now.
Yeah, if I had a link, I could just shoot it to her. She can pick it up later, and she can watch it later.
Okay, so I'm down some. My bad. You know? Okay, you want to text it to her?
Thank you, sir.
Anytime.
You pulled this up on Firefox, or I'm trying to figure out how to. I'm an old man. I ain't got this technology down. You know, I always send that to somebody.
Yeah, I already got the link. Just have them paste it and
Who do
then.
you want to send it to?
I want to send it to my wife.
Okay, click. Is the
That's
link, is the
just-
link, yeah, is the link already copied?
I don't know if it's copied or not.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
I'm gonna hit on the camera where it says
What is that?
bystander,
Is
just
that-
hit that at the start.
What is
It's
that?
already started.
Oh, it's running?
I want to send it to my wife, and I'm not sure I can pull the.
Okay, guys, let's get started.
Just paste it into my wife.
All right.
All right. So we can just kind of go in and introduce ourselves. Definitely greetings, everyone. We appreciate everybody for tapping in to Fly City Blackout. We're talking Flint community impact. We're making it make sense here in the Flint community. We'll be talking about solutions. That's what we want to be about. Right? So my name is Dewan E. Robinson, aka Royal X. Right? I'm gonna pass it on to the right side and let these phenomenal members of our community introduce themselves. Why don't you give a little tidbit about yourself too, Mr. Brown? Start with you, Mr. Brown.
Happy New Year to everyone out there. Greetings and salutations of the evening. My name is Marcus Brown. I am a community advocate and farmer that lives on the north side, right off of Fleming Street near Flint Park Lake. I am formerly of Detroit and Lansing. I have spent 20 years as an educator, both a principal and a teacher in the Lansing area. Currently, I work with varied people in the community, teaching them how to farm and get access to food and dealing with food desert issues.
Hi everyone, my name is Devancy Farr. I'm 24 years old and I attend my community college and I'm studying social work. I'm also a responsible career advocate.
Nice to meet you, Mr. Bonsi.
Okay. So we got Mr. Boss here down there at the end holding it down, right? As far as being a young voice for the community, I think that's very important. So right now we are facing some critical times and we definitely need to make sure we get our act together, right? And that's something that we are definitely working on. So just working with just members of the community, man, to be the difference. And I think that's exactly where we should be placing our efforts and our initiatives. So first thing first, right? What is you guys, you and Ms. Devasia, what is your take on the plight of the city of Flint?
I think right now there's a number of things going on in the city of Flint as far as access to resources, as far as access to political power, and as far as who really controls and sways and moves those in leadership to do things. A lot of voices are not being heard. I live on the north side of town, and we went years without getting our streetlights fixed, and having dealing with the previous administration and current administration to get those fixed. The fix actually came from us going out in the street and actually talking to the consumer energy guys out on the street inside the truck and say, hey, how do we get this fixed?
Mhm.
We spent years trying to deal with the politics, and we had to find a grassroots solution to get the get Fleming repaved, get a sidewalk put on Fleming so people didn't have to walk in the street, and also getting the street lights repaired because it was literally like pitch black over there at night going down Fleming sometimes.
Which is insane. Right?
So that access to power, where resources get focused. A lot of money gets focused towards downtown, and I'm not sweating that. We have to have a vital and vibrant downtown, but the rest of the city can't be ignored. And depending on where you live, like, I'll give an example. Last year we had dogs roaming through the neighborhood, right across the street from a park, Flint Park. And we called animal control. Well, we're not accepting dogs right now because we have parvo or something going on. But we got kids and we got wild dogs chasing kids inside the neighborhood. And it seemed like nobody stepped forward to do anything for us.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that if animal control is down, but if dogs are roaming around downtown, a pack of dogs roaming around downtown, I think something would be done about it.
Something that definitely need to be done about, just to talk about city services. That can mean addressing the pack of dogs running through the street. That can mean plowing the neighborhood streets, the side streets, right? That can mean garbage pickup. I think, it's been a neglect, when you talk about city services for quite some time. That has definitely been a thing. But you gotta always go back to your leadership. That's why it's so critical when we're talking about, we're in an election year. We got people that's running for office, but we got people that's in office right now that has not necessarily done the work. It's more like, it was more like, a perception contest around there. Like, if I liked you, or if I'm voting with this group, I'm voting with this group, or, if I didn't like you because I didn't like you, I didn't support your initiative, right? Because I thought you sucked. But that's what I'm saying. Like, that's where we get away from really doing for people. And like right now, everybody in this community, like day to day, needs to be able to be having some type of input, but then also feeling something is being done in the town that they live in. And that's the frustrating part about it. So I love to see the overabundance of energetic people coming out running for office, right? You've been seeing that drop on a day-to-day basis, right? But then also you have to make sure that you be out there to be registered to vote, but you also play a part in the process too. So, we have this community conversation take place tomorrow, right? Be sure to go ahead and tune in to.
Saturday.
Thank you, brother Riley back there. Yes, man, you come on down. Yes, Saturday, right? This is live today. 1 to 3. 31st. Here at the Oak Business Center, 1 to 3 p.m. We will have community conversation. Taylor and Saginaw, we will have the Flint community conversation taking place down here. Like, bring your solutions, right? We don't want to hear about a whole bunch of crime. We're not going to be talking about a bunch of nonsense. But what we're going to do is be finding a solution to the issues of our problems, and we're going to have a good time while we're going to have some, some food, right? We're going to do nothing too expensive because we're only here for 2 hours. But we're going to have some food, a couple snacks, right? Some water, of course, because we want you to live healthy. And then we're going to just be in here strategizing, right? We're going to be talking about some real things and some real ideas, concepts, stuff that we've been building on from the past conversations as we embark to do the work this year.
And right now, let's bring our sister in because, again, we want to give a youth or a younger person perspective. Also, we want you to make sure you share a little bit about your life, some of the challenges that you have. And then as a young person, what do you see? Because you guys are the future. So we kind of want this conversation to kind of flow back and forth with an understanding of what has happened in the past and then what's happening now. And then how, as a young person, and then especially some of the things that you can bring to the table, we want to hear a little bit from you, our sister.
Hey,
Already.
everyone. My name is
I'm sorry.
Demonsi Farr.
Yes, sir.
I'm 24 years old. I was in foster care due to abuse from my mother, and my dad also has schizophrenia. And so I experienced a lot of traumatic things in my life. I also experienced SID with my aunt's husband and things of that matter too. I also graduated high school in 2020. I also was able to go to college and get a car with me being in that situation of experiencing foster care.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I was saying I was able to get a car with me in the situation of me experiencing foster care. And,
I was wondering what you studied in college.
Oh, social work.
Okay.
Yeah, social work. But I feel like when it comes to the youth, especially in Flint, a lot of them have been failed by just a lot of adults, I think it starts from their parents and things like that. If you cannot trust your parents, or if your parents are not safe, then who can you trust and stuff like that. And I think that a lot of adults in our lives just need to be better, whether it's, teenagers, kids, young adults, and just setting an example and just knowing that even if your parents can't help you, the community is here to support you, whatever situation that it is. And I feel like if the kids and the youth know that they have support, regardless if it's the community and stuff like that, then we can have a better outcome.
Now, one of the focus is, and again, I need you to speak up louder because we want our young people to really be engaged in this work. And Ms. Devancia, and I just call her Ms. D, is one of our youth ambassadors for Black Lives Matter Grassroots Flint, Michigan. And a lot of times, again, people sit around talking, and I have a motto: I believe in saying less and doing more. And what does that really look like? If you guys listen to her story, especially in Genesee County, can be multiplied by the thousand. When you think about the brokenness of our family structure, of men and women that sometimes should not be parents, and then with the abuse level. See, a lot of times that's not even talked about to the degree that we should have an honest and whole conversation, because we want her and many like her, young ladies and young men, to be felt to be whole, also to be healed, and also to feel good about themselves that they are contributing to our community. So, Mr. Brown, you heard a little bit about her story.
Mm-hmm.
How does that affect you, listening to this young lady and hearing some of what she's had to deal with?
I empathize with her and sympathize with her because as a young man growing up in Detroit in the 1970s, I was born in '69, there was a lot of experience because you had the baby boomers and you had that generation that came along where you had the two-family income. We became latchkey kids where we were pretty much running the streets by ourselves and up to our own devices because our parents were working jobs part of the day. But I think a critical part is that we need to recognize that there is dysfunction in a lot of families. And I think that part of the problem or a solution to the problem is we need to start discussing that dysfunction. You said that you experienced being SA as a child. As a man, I want to admit, when I was about 7 years old, I was SA by one, and it had a very strong impact on my self-esteem and the way I view the world and the way I viewed others and fear of others. And it takes time to get over it, get over the guilt, and realize that you didn't do anything wrong. And it's not your fault, it's that other person. But part of the problem we have in our community, uncle whatever will do whatever, and people want to quiet it down. We ain't gonna talk about that. It's important for families to talk about that. And whenever I host a family reunion, I make it clear, nope, you're not allowed to go off with that uncle or that person right there. And if they got beef or got a problem with it, then we can broach the whole subject. And sometimes it creates an uncomfortable situation, but sometimes you have to go through that discomfort of discussing things that are ugly in order to get better. I think we as a people almost suffer from an intergenerational form of PTSD or Stockholm syndrome, or we're still recouping and recovering. Yes, we have come a long way since 1863, but we still got a long way to go. Some families have not come up out and reached that success level or that American dream yet. I know that I was born in abject poverty, and now I own 3 houses, and I graduated. I was one of the first people in my family to go to college, and this is after generations and generations in America. And I'm finally one of the first ones to breach that bubble of college and so forth. There are a lot of families stuck like that. We need to discuss that dysfunction.
On that point, this morning they were talking. I make sure that I try to, or I work on listening to a lot of information so I can be clear even what the enemy is talking about or engaging with, because all of it is 3-card mind. So this morning they were talking about about the college level people. And then you have those that don't have college or just are working for it. They said the stock market is doing wonderful. And but then when you tie this in with the reality of the what groceries are costing, what gas is costing, and what all these other things, stock market and those that either have a degree or have some higher education. Again, when you think about the whole of our country, and now you have such division squarely based on income or the have and the have not.
Well, you recently, uh, our illustrious leader and his administration decided to say that nurses and teachers are no longer to be considered professionals. I don't know if anybody else heard about that. We have some stuff going on in this country, and there's some misconceptions in this country. When I was born and raised, I heard, "Oh, school boy, you're gonna make something out of yourself. You're gonna do X, Y, and Z." I have a brother that's 11 months older than me. We both went off to the Marine Corps. We both have the same stuff put inside of us socially. He decided to become an electrician. I decided to become an educator. Hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, and I barely reached $100,000. If it wasn't for my investments and my other things that I was doing, I would not have the success I had. So college is not always the be all. It's important to have knowledge, but it's important to have a plan on how you're going to build yourself. I know that my children, I want them to go to college, but if they don't want to go, if they want to become a baker or go into a trade or something like that, college isn't made for everyone, just like the military isn't made for everyone. So you got to be careful that you don't accidentally just fall into a trap or fall into a pattern that's not serving you. And sometimes we have to recognize that. What do you, Mr. Vossi, what do you think about the job situation or the opportunities out there right now for you or for people your age?
Reality, well, I have a job, but I do more right now. Find some job, just be like,
And how does that make you feel?
I think it's unfortunate that we should be able to get it out. You know, because we all have to make sure we're keeping it in this thing.
Now, earlier you mentioned, and especially in your peer group, and I don't want our audience to be misled. You mentioned something about, the program or you being in foster care and coming out of that. And I think you should highlight the programs that have assisted you. I think that would be vital for our audience because we don't want them to think that you ran up a situation and just was blessed with a car out of somebody's kind heart. That doesn't happen. So please share the program that you're in and then share with our elected. You're elected to office.
So I was elected to president of the and that program for people that do foster care. You can also be a part of this group. You can pay for the meetings. You go to like this game every March, Michigan, and like a lot of stuff that's supporting people that are in that situation. And the program that I was in, it was like an aging out program. It was called YT. And that funding is for like a car, laptop, and just things like that. And they would drive the street. And I'm so grateful for them. They helped me establish, cars is expensive. And I did not have to come out of pocket for it. So I'm just
Now,
I'm sorry, can you say the name of the program again? Can you say the name of the program again slowly so people can?
okay. In my Hawaii is one of the programs. In Hawaii, the program was the YIT funds.
okay, thank you.
So just hearing your story, right? There's a lot of youth out here that need the support, right? And you open up a conversation because there's a lot of foster children that are going through hard time. But it doesn't seem, when you tell me about the resources, first I'm hearing about it, which is important, right? Because I know foster children, even when you talk about help with transportation, it's big, right? They need to look. Why don't you think, I guess there's an emphasis on foster children here in the city to be able to give resources to get them where they go?
I think it's the social workers because there's, social workers, they don't tell the youth about this information. But I think it's also foster care system too, as a whole. When you have like, a lot of cases, it's hard to be giving people the information, and if you're not asking questions and stuff like that, then it's kind of like, created for like people to miss out on certain opportunities. I remember I had like a packet in it, all these programs, so I knew what I was able to get. But I think folks are accountable and making sure like you're coming to this business to check on the child, but you're also making sure that they get these opportunities because it's not fair for somebody in this situation to be missing out on that kind of stuff.
Quick question for you. We always hear stereotypical horror stories about foster care. Your experience with foster care, do you consider it positive? I know it's negative to have to go into foster care. Do you think of it more as a positive or a negative one?
I think it was a positive ending because it's like, yes, I did go through a lot of traumatic experience with my victim. I also had people that were willing to help me. When I was in high school, I had a dance teacher and I started dancing and she helped me with a lot of stuff. She helped me with a lot of stuff. And so I really think that in those situations, especially like a stable family, and they don't have the parents to like fall and help them in that time.
I think it's amazing, being an educator for over 20 years, the resilience of children, especially in certain situations, sometimes amazing. You see them sometimes come from a situation that's not perfect, but they make an affection from it or find a way of finding success. And I think part of that is sometimes finding responsible role models or responsible, not necessarily guardians or parents, but people that you can look to and look towards for advice. I know when I left home, left Detroit, and was out in the world trying to go to school, trying to figure out where I'm going to do this, that, the other thing. There were some older people that look, come here, little brother, I'm going to talk to you for a second before you get yourself in trouble. Or come here, sister, you're doing something wrong right here. Just talk to you one on one. And we have to recreate that bond, that sense of community. It got a little bit lost when we went to the segregation in my mind. I hear about these wonderful stories about community with the doctor, the teacher, the mailman, all lived in the community. They were all black. But then when desegregation happened, it was like a centrifuge that pulled the more affluent and the more talented out of the neighborhoods. And I'm not saying that there was nothing left inside the neighborhood, but when the doctors don't live with you, you don't see that teacher at your church or anything like that. It kind of dissolves the structure and the integrity.
I think, and I think it's very important if you have any numbers or any information that you actually can share with our community would be awesome because there may be some grandparents, parents, or someone that's hearing this speaking, and that services is so vital. And a lot of times people don't because they don't know. They don't because they don't know. Like you said earlier about even if you have an influx of caseworkers, and a lot of these social entities, people come in for training, and then they leave. Nothing is really consistent. And one thing that children also need is consistency. And I think that's one part of the devil or our evil system capitalism that we're in is trying to make sure that everything is in chaos. Just like now, we are speaking with positive energy. And a lot of times, what get a lot of the likes is something done with you. So, Mr. Robertson, so when you hear across the board as far as some of the conversations that's taking place in your considering running for office? You know, in what you just heard, what would make a difference for you, and why are you considering running for office? Why are you putting your hat or your hand in the hat to run for an elected position? And what is that position?
I think for me, it's more of, I think, being on a grassroots level, being engaged, from that standpoint in the community for a long time, you got to see some of the things, the pitfalls that we face on a regular basis, and you try to do what you can do, whatever that is, and the most impact, you can possible. What it comes down to, every community needs resources, and the city gets resources. Not to say like she was giving, ideas and concepts and things that's out there. But if you're not at the table, the information not being shared, right? There might be some stuff going on that we don't know, right? What we need is to have a trusted voice at the table. Be there when the resources be handed down. Understand, city business, and then where, the budget and where those different pockets of dollars is going to be going towards these different initiatives. Where is that going to be headed to? And then also just carrying the voice of the people while you're there, because at the end of the day, it's always the people, run the community. The people who run democracy. That's how that's set up. But all too often in this, community and communities alike, you get people that go into office and, it's really all about them. And that's farthest from the truth, and it's not the setup of what we should be applying ourselves to. So the reason why I chose to get out there is because I do want to see fresh leadership. I do want to see new ideas. I don't want to see the same stuff. I'm tired of playing business. I'm tired of being on the outside looking in. I'm just gonna be honest with you, right? It just comes to a point where you feel that, um, that you're willing to go ahead and get in the mud, and you're willing to go ahead and do the work, things that's necessary to make the shit. And I feel it could be a beautiful, robust community because at one point in time it was a thriving community. Over 200,000 people here, right? Third richest city per capita. Right? Saginaw was booming. Industrial was doing numbers. And when we had, a driver, GM. We have to look for new industries. We have to go ahead and create new ideas and concepts. And those are some of the things that, I definitely look to bring to the table, and that's what I can. But I also want to work in concert with other members from different wards, right? It's more than just having the votes to get something passed. But it's like, really, what are we doing to change the circumstances for the people living? And that's going to be beholden to the folks who are on that council. So currently, I am putting my name in the hat for Flint City Council board representative. We've been talking with different community members. We've been strategizing with different folks here and trying to see exactly, what do we want to do. And it's not about, what I think. I might get some ideas that help. At the end of the day, we're going to be the people to say, like, this is what we want to do. People in council, their representative, they are supposed to carry out the initiative on behalf of the people. So, and we'll continue to be having more discussions about what we can do. I know I've been here in public safety. I know I've been here in development. I know I've been here in blight innovations, right? Things like I think I've been here for a little while. I don't think we haven't addressed them. It's just like here in water crisis. Water crisis is 11 years old, and we still talking about it. We just never get the things done, and then move forward. So I'd like to be a part of that.
You mentioned water crisis, and I think this is endemic as far as what cancer is, because no one was ever held accountable. We have people right now facing shut-off notices. We have people and children we are in the school system and in our community that have been poisoned, that are mentally struggling and don't have the resources. And, and even from, I get bulletins from the governor's office, and I see where they're getting all kind of jobs and opportunities, $44 million here in St. Louis. All these other communities get money for businesses, for training, for trades, and Nothing is happening here in this. And so again, and I thought this at you, Mr. Brown, and also you, Ms. D, you know, what is it going to take for our community to stand up and step up and say, we want to be recognized and we want to share in this thing called capitalism, where our children and our legacy will be able to benefit and we not continue to be in poverty with over 40,000 ex-offenders living in Jackson County. Listen to what I'm saying. Over 40,000 men and women have felonies in Jackson County. Our sister just mentioned about being qualified or having some type of qualification to be able to apply for jobs or opportunities. And they always say, don't box, don't, you know, they eliminate the box, and you don't have to mention offenders. And now there's so many people that smoking cannabis. You know what I mean? What do you guys think is some of the solutions as opposed to continue to just replay the historical insanity that we all been doing for years in this community?
I think that part of the problem is that we're caught in a paradigm, that capitalistic paradigm that tells us to chase dollars. 15 years ago, my wife and I bought the house next door to us. We got the dirt cheap, it was raggedy, got it for $5,000 repairs. But without money, without a staff, we were able to run a community center where everyone volunteered. We were able to serve thousands of lunches, distribute thousands of coats, able to get tutoring done, able to get MSU students to come in and volunteer. We have to start using our creativity and don't start just, everyone says the resource is money, resource is money. I say no, the resource is not money. When you want to solve a problem inside your house, you can throw money at your kids and it might work and it might not work. It might make them spoil bread. Sometimes you got to have that true love, those honest conversations, and a lot of things that don't cost anything. How much does it cost me to teach someone to play chess? How much does it cost me to take a few minutes out of my day to help a young man fix his bike or do whatever? You got to find that positivity and find that sense of community and togetherness, unity in our community to get things better. I think that sometimes we get, like I said, we get caught in a paradigm, way of thinking. We got to break that chain where we are attached to the past in such a way. If I had let what happened to me as a young elementary age child affect my future, then my self-esteem would be tore up and I would think that I couldn't do this and that. Sometimes we have to know our past, but look toward the future of change. And I think that part of that plan has to be something that doesn't just focus on money, but actually focus on people, helping people, and rebuilding community without that money. That let's party together. Let's go to the park together. Let's plant plants together. Let's turn those blighted fields into gardens. Let's start thinking creatively. If I go outside and water the blighted lot next to me or clean up the paper on the ground or try and just do something positive, I think that everybody in this community, every real man in this community is going to be trying to find something positive to do. Every woman in this community needs to be finding something positive to do where they make a positive impact. I think that number one, we got to start with ourselves. If we are imperfect or if there's something we don't like about ourselves, whether it be a weight, whether it be our habits, if we're addicted to something, or if we're addicted to being with the wrong person and not looking out for ourselves, we have to find that love of self first. Because if you don't love yourself, then how can you love anything else? What does your love for anything else mean? If you don't put your mask on the airplane first, then how can you help save someone else? We have to look at ourselves first and try and protect ourselves and then try and let it radiate out. I'm going to try and be better. I'm going to try and make my family better. I'm going to try and make my house, my neighborhood, my city better. Sometimes we can't. I stopped watching the news a few months ago because it was just bringing my blood pressure up, seeing all this controversy at the national level. Then I had to remember that we have to do something inside this community. I grow fruit and give it away. I help people garden. So I feel good about myself. And I feel like I'm radiating that positivity out. And sometimes you can have somebody right next to you that never thought about it, but they see you doing it. You know what? I'm gonna help them out with that.
I like your outlook on that too. It's like the news is very sensationalized negativity. I mean, and at the end of the day, I know it'd be a lot of things that go on in urban communities. But that's why you have outlets like this to be able to kind of have a discussion and talk about some things, some nurturing conversations, right?
Well, this is, I want you to jump in on this because this is about you. That technology out there, you naturally better than us. This young lady helped me send a link for this program to my wife because I'm like, I don't know how to do this. Technology is a beautiful thing, but it's also a dangerous thing. There's a lot of fake news out there. I was watching something on Facebook. Wow, Shaka Khan just opened a hospital. That's fake news. It's not real. It's not real. And then a week later, Lil Wayne.
You saw that?
Right.
I mean, that's some stuff it would.
Right. It is, and it's a beautiful thing. But then a week later, the same article, but they just replaced the name Shaka with Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne just opened up a hospital. So we have to vet everything we look at in the media because they are intentionally sending out quote unquote fake news. They are intentionally brainwashing us and using subliminal advertising. You know that you can just talk about getting a great job done, and all of a sudden your Facebook break ads come up. You all experience that. The power of AI, the power of technology is a great thing. Are born in the land of technology. When I was a kid, we had to go to a library. I doubt if you guys even know what the Dewey Decimal System is. In order to find a book, they get this long number. They had to be able to figure out what part of the library things were from this combination of letters and numbers and whatnot.
Well, you know,
The Dewey Decimal System.
you know how you was able to, go on your phone and just kind of pick the friends you want to call. Back in the day, like, and I called a little bit too, man, we had the phone book. You know what I'm saying? Like, you had to go get a phone book to go have it. Yeah.
What's scary is
I called the Muffler Man. I can go on Google and call Muffler Man. I had to go on the phone book to kind of find, go to the end, right? Find Muffler Man, alphabetical order, right? That's a real thing.
At first, you had to know how to spell it.
Yeah, no, how to spell it, right? And then it was in the business side. It was in the business side.
Brother Robert can attest to that. Well, attest to this. Back in the 80s, I knew over 50 phone numbers off the top of my head.
I did
I
too.
knew Auntie's number, I knew this number. Now I don't even know my children's number. I just go on this little black box right here and
See,
put
that's
up their
one
name.
thing.
And I think that's making us weaker, not having that ability to remember numbers and stuff like that.
That's one thing that I would just, caution ourselves about when it comes down like AI and technology and stuff like that. You lose the sense of understanding for yourself. Just like I can remember, I knew my grandmother's aunties, uncles.
If you met a girl out on the street, you had to remember her.
If I didn't write it in the palm of my hand, but I still knew the number. You know what I mean? By the time I got home. But like I think we become dependent on technology, like you said, it's a positive, but it's a negative. I just think that we should make sure that we have a balance. These children nowadays, they growing up with technology.
Right.
They growing up right there, things quick, fast, and a hurry. But then we also should provide them some balance. Like they don't read books like this right here. This is critical. These are books. I enjoy reading that. But now I be seeing my daughter on Audible. She listen to the book, which is fine. But there's nothing like opening the book and reading it for yourself.
I think it's important that we realize that the system does not necessarily, the educational system and other systems don't always necessarily have our best interest in mind. Sometimes their best interest is about the business of the area or greater social issues. Mm-hmm. When our school system first got started, the common school movement first got started, it was intended to assimilate immigrants from Ireland and from Italy. Like we don't want these people following the Pope. We want these people to follow the president. So they created a common school movement that would help integrate these people that were coming in mass numbers. When war laws changed in this country around the turn of the century, around the turn of the 19th century, kids got pulled out of the factories. They said, we want to put all these kids, and then we got all these immigrants coming to take these jobs, burgeoning industries and auto industries and stuff. What are we going to do with all these kids? They made education compulsory to the age of 16. Before that, 10 years old, if you had a fifth grade education, that's all you're going to get. You know how to read, you know how to count. That's all you need. Go on out in the world. Mm-hmm. Our whole system is based on other people's needs. Why don't we go to school in the summer? Because the farmers need their kids in the summer. It used to be an agrarian society. We quickly shifted into an urban industrial society based on factories. We quickly shifted.
That's what 8 hours of work they came from.
And we're quickly about to shift because now we're going post-industrial. Those factory jobs weren't there for me, but they were there for my parents.
So that's what we're saying now. Now, taking that, bro, going into the future, how do we position ourselves, right, to be a hub, right, based off of where we are now, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then not losing ourselves and going too far, right? What can we do? How are we going to see ourselves in the future?
I think it's important that every parent, if you love your child, you should be asking that child, what do you want to do when you grow up? If you really love and care about your child, you should be making sure that they're getting everything they need from education. If they're coming home without homework, I'm like, what is the school doing? If they're not being challenged at school,
They
what
don't
is
even
the
go to
school
school
doing?
for book bag.
Right. Yeah, they can't even take book back to school. But then during COVID, not the whole city didn't have internet, so these kids got laptops, but couldn't get access to, to, the information they were supposed to be getting. There's a lot of things going on and a lot of information not being shared. Test scores, post lead poisoning, uh, behavior problems in school, post lead poisoning. We haven't gotten reports on that. There's a lot of things going on, but what do we need to do for the future? I think the most important thing is education, and that education is not always traditional education. Sometimes that education comes from your daddy, your mama, your auntie, in the community. Sometimes going the traditional route of college or going the traditional route of trade school might not be for everyone. You might need to become an entrepreneur. There are some young people that can cook their behinds off. They might be able to start a taco truck and become a success. The road to success, you have to think and plan. It's one thing to dream, but a dream without action leaves you where? Leaves you asleep.
Absolutely.
What do you think, Marcel? What is your opinion on your future?
I agree with a lot of what you said. For instance, because I know that college situation and told college, like you said, that my child, if they want to be an dancer, an actor, or whatever it is, I feel like at the end of the day, it's just going to be more of a positive thing for your child if they actually want it and work for somebody or something that they don't want to do.
What kind of scares me is I feel that my education coming through Detroit public schools in the 70s and 80s is better than the education that you probably receive, what kids are currently receiving. We had critical thinking going on. We had creative thinking. We had music, art, this, that, and the other thing. And what's the first programs you pull out of schools?
Music, art,
Music, art, etc.
everything creative.
Well, not just creative, but critical thinking.
Or hand trade. You know, the trade is the foundation when you think about anything. Because just like
Right, I had woodshop class. Did you have woodshop? Did you have woodshop? Or woodshop or any kind of class?
I didn't take it, but I know I didn't go.
But not everybody was required to learn how to cook, tie, and do woodshop. Everybody in my middle had to learn how to swim too.
and home ec.
Right, we had these classes that
And sex education.
What you know about home ec? Y'all love sex education.
You know, have to walk around with a little baby.
All that. Take them home.
the age.
Me and my girl back in the day. It was for real like that. I'm calling like, yeah, I'm on the house phone.
Did you
On the
guys
house phone.
do
What the baby doing?
where you carry your egg around for a week to make sure you don't crack?
That's what they did.
Yeah. Y'all didn't do that. So they don't even do that anymore. But that's about that critical, creative thinking and applied thinking. When you build a birdhouse, guess what that is? That's STEM. That's science, technology, engineering, mathematics, all thrown in together. But a lot of these schools got wood shops in them that aren't being used. They got metal shops and photography shops. I was over at a school, I'm like, why is this being used? And well, we got to focus on this, that, and the other thing. When I taught chess in my class. I taught guitar in my class. They said, Mr. Brown, that's not part of the curriculum. I'm like, you know what? I got the highest test scores in the district. You really want to mess with me? But that's the problem, though. We focus so much on standardized testing. What is the correct
Was
answer?
you a crusader when you was up there?
I was a rebel when I was a troublemaker. I got to admit it. I was trying to change things. But we focus so much on that standardized test that we don't teach
Yeah.
kids how to think critically.
But that's
or
how we
to
teach.
write.
That's how we teaching our young people to
And
be
the
the
correct,
test.
there's only one correct answer. Let me ask you a question. This is a question. There are 3 birds on a telephone line.
Yeah.
You throw a rock at one, throw a rock and hit one.
Yeah.
How many birds are left?
2.
How many birds are left? You got 3 birds sitting on the telephone line. You throw a rock and hit one of them. How many birds are left? Brother Robert, how many birds are left?
All of them gone.
Brother Robert, break it down to him why all the birds are going.
You hit one, everybody else leave.
That's wisdom right there.
That's that critical and creative thinking. Sometimes you gotta think out the box.
We still killing them alive.
Right. I mean, we don't
But
teach,
you're right though.
we teach that there's only one answer. Sometimes there's more than one answer. And there's more than one way to look at things.
That was interesting.
How do you feel about
I think this is the problem.
Yeah. Talk to
This, the IEP. Every single child should get an IEP, individual education program. Imagine if hospitals ran like school. Oh, we got poor people coming in here sick. And we're gonna wrap everybody's right hand up. We're gonna do the same thing for everyone. Not every child thinks the same way, learns the same way, or has the same talents and skills. I have a brother, my oldest brother just passed away. This guy was athletic as all get out, had kinesthetic intelligence, where he could catch a ball, where he could run, he could jump, he could do all this other stuff. He might have been a great dancer, might have been a great football player. He had that physicality about him. Me, I was a bookworm and I was good at math. I was one of the clever kids. Then I got another brother that was just a straight up hustler who would be out there, he was buying bottles of water on the freeway. Why are you doing that? Hey, $500 today, selling bottles of water with people off the freeway. I'm
what
not
you
giving
do
this
today?
up. So we have to acknowledge that our country does a major disservice to our children because it's based on factors. You take a piece of material, put it in there. I'm gonna be done in a second. Take a piece of material, put it in there, and you want the same product out. We don't want that for our
We're
children.
talking about you don't want to cook.
We should run schools like hospitals. Every child gets individually evaluated and put to the level that they need to be.
That goes back just before you go in. Every children learn everything. Like you might read the book, get the content. But I have to see the vision for it. Like I got to see it right to be able to go.
I tell my children not to play with the stove. The stove is not. Most of them listen, but invariably there's one child like, no, I got to see what he's talking about.
Okay, each one of you got 30 seconds. We'll close out 30 seconds. We'll say time with our sister. We'll let our women first. Again, mention we have to be here. You want to get the job for you to be here. Go.
you guys come to the community sections, when people come out and we take initiative? And I would like to say to anyone, I would,
Thank you.
That's love.
Change starts within. You have to change yourself if you really want to change the world. There's so much talk about corruption and all this other stuff. Start with you. Start with your family. Let that radiate out.
Thank you, Juan.
That was short and sweet. Definitely, you know what? We just want to be the difference. Always start with you. We can always ask about all the things that we want to see and expect you to do it for us. First thing first, you got to get it done. You willing to roll up your sleeves and make it happen, right? Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Come on out to the community conversation this Saturday, 1 to 3 p.m. at the office.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Robinson. Brother Robert.
So before we end the show, we always do.
No,
He said, I ain't that. Peace and blessings, y'all. All I got to
With special ed.